Chapter 9 of Taking the Bastile by Alexandre Dumas. Translated by Henry L. Williams. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. To the Bastile. Once on the river edge, the two countrymen, spying arms glitter on the Tuileries bridge, in all probability not in friendly hands, lay down in the grass beneath the trees and held a council. The question was, as laid down by the elder, whether they ought to stay where they were, in comparative safety, or return into the action. He waited for Petou's opinion. Petou had grown in the farmer's estimation, from the learning he had shown down in the country and the bravery he showed this evening. Petou instinctively felt this, but he was naturally so humble that he was only the more grateful to his friend. "Master," he said, "it is clear that you are braver, and I less of a coward than was supposed by ourselves. Horace the poet, a very different character from you, flung down his weapons and took to his heels at the first conflict he was in. This proves that I am more courageous than Horace, with my musket, cartridge-box, and sword to show for it. My conclusion is that the bravest man in the world may be killed by a bullet. Ergo, as your design in quitting the farm was to come to Paris on an important errand—"
"By all that is blue, the casket!"
"You have hit it, and for nothing else?"
"Then, if you are killed, the business will not come off."
"Quite so. When we shall have seen the doctor, we will return to politics, as a sacred duty."
"Come on, then. To the college. Where is Sebastian Gilbert?"
said Billet, rising. "Let us go," added Petou, rising but reluctantly, so soft was the grass. Besides, good Petou was sleepy.
"If anything happens to me, you must know what to say to Dr. Gilbert in my stead, but be mute."
Ange was not saying anything, for he was dozing.
"If I should be mortally wounded, you must go to the doctor and say, 'Bless me, the boy's asleep.'"
Indeed, Petou was snoring where he had sunk down again.
"After all, the college will be shut at this hour," thought Billet. "We had better take a rest."
Dawn appeared when they had slept 3 hours, but the day did not bring any change in the warlike aspect of Paris. Only, there were no soldiers to be seen. The populace were everywhere. They were armed with quickly made pikes, guns of which most knew not the use, and old-time weapons of which the bearers admired the ornamentation. After the military had been withdrawn, they had pillaged the royal storage magazines. Toward the city hall a crowd rolled a couple of small cannon. At the cathedral and other places the general alarm was rung on the big bells. Out from between the flagstones, so to say, oozed the lowest of the low. Legions of men and women, if human they were, pale, haggard, and ill-clad, who had been yelling "Bread!" the night before, but howled for "Weapons!" now. Nothing was more sinister than these spectres who had been stealing into the capital from all the country round during the last few months. They slipped silently through the bars and installed themselves in the town like ghouls in a cemetery. On this day, all France, represented in the capital by these starvelings, called out to the king, "Make us free," while howling to heaven, "Feed us." Meanwhile, Billet and his pupil were proceeding to the college. On the way they saw the barricades growing up, with even children lending a hand, and the richest, like the poorest, contributing some object that would build the wall. Among the crowds Billet recognized 1 or 2 French guardsmen by their uniform, who were drilling squads and teaching the use of firearms, with the women and boys looking on. The college was insurrection also. The boys had driven out the masters, and were attacking the gates to get out with threats which terrified the tearful principal.
"Who of you is Sebastian Gilbert?"
demanded Belay in his stentor's voice, after regarding the intestine war. "I am he," replied a boy of 15, of almost girlish beauty, who was helping 3 or 4 schoolfellows to bring up a ladder with which to scale the wall, as they could not force the lock. "What do you want of me?"
"Are you going to take him away?"
asked the head teacher, alarmed by the sight of 2 armed men, one of whom, the speaker, was covered with blood. The boy was also looking at them without recognizing his foster brother, who had grown out of all reason since he left him, and was farther disguised by the martial harness.
"Take away Dr. Gilbert's son into that infernal rumpus," said the yeoman. "Expose him to some ugly blow? Oh, dear, no."
"You see, you mad fellow, Sebastian, that your friends do not approve of your attempt," said the principal, "for these gentlemen do appear to be your friends. Aid me, gentlemen, and ye, my children, obey me when I command and entreat." "Keep my mates if you will," replied young Gilbert with a firmness marvellous at his age, "but I must go forth. I am not in the position of these. My father has been arrested and is imprisoned. He is in the tyrant's power." "Yes, yes," shouted the boys. "Sebastian is right. They have locked up his father, and as the people are opening the prisons, they must set his father free."
"Hey, have they arrested Dr. Gilbert?"
roared the farmer, shaking the gates.
"Death of my life! Little Catherine was right."
"Yes, they have taken away my father," continued little Gilbert, "and that is why I want to get a gun and fight till I deliver my father." This plan was hailed by 100 shrill voices. "Yes, give us weapons! Let us fight!" At this, the mob outside the gates ran at them to give the scholars passage. The principal threw himself on his knees to supplicate both parties, crying, "Friends, friends, spare tender youth." "Spare them? Of course we will," said an old soldier. "They will be just the chaps to form a cadet corps with." "But they are a sacred deposit entrusted to me by their parents," continued the head teacher. "I owe my life to them, so, in heaven's name, do not take away my lambs." Hooting from both sides of the wall killed his doleful entreaties. Belay stepped forward and interposed between the soldiers and the mob and the schoolboys.
"The old gentleman is right," he said. "The youngsters are a sacred trust. Let men go and fight and get knocked over. That is their duty. But children are the seed for the future."
A disapproving murmur was heard.
"Who grumbles?" demanded the farmer. "I am sure it is not a father. Now, I am a father. I have had 2 men killed in my arms this last night. It is their blood on my breast. See!" He showed the stains to the assemblage with a grand gesture, electrifying all. "Yesterday, I was fighting at the Palais Royal and in the Tuileries garden," resumed the farmer, "and this lad fought by my side. But then he has no father or mother, and besides, he is almost a man grown." Pitou looked proud. "I shall be fighting again today, but I do not want anybody to say the Parisians could not thrash the enemy until they brought the children to help them." "The man's right," chorused the soldiers and women. "No children in the fighting. Keep them in." "Oh, thank you, sir," said the headmaster to Belay, trying to shake hands with him through the bars. "And above all, take good care of Gilbert," said the latter. "Keep me in? I tell you they shall not," cried the boy, livid with anger as he struggled in the grasp of the school servants. Let me go in, and I undertake to quiet him."
The crowd divided and let the farmer and Pitou go into the schoolyard. Already 3 or 4 French guards and a dozen other soldiers instinctively stood sentry at the gates, and prevented the young insurgents from bolting out. Belay went straight up to Sebastian, and taking his fine white hands in his large, horny ones, said,
"Sebastian, do you not know Farmer Belay, who farms your father's own land?"
"Yes, sir. I know you now."
"And this lad with me?"
"It must be Ange Pitou." Pitou threw himself on the other's neck, blubbering with joy.
"If they have taken away your father, I will bring him back. I and the rest of us. Why not? Yesterday we had a turn-up with the Austrians, and we saw the flat of their backs."
"In token of which, here is a cartridge box one of them has no farther use for," added Ange.
"Will we not liberate his father?"
cried Belay to the mob, who shouted an assent. "But my father is in the Bastile," said Sebastian, shaking his head in melancholy. "None can take the Bastile."
"What were you going to do then, had you got out?"
"I should have gone under the Bastile walls, and when my father was out walking on the ramparts, where they tell me the prisoners come for an airing, I should have shown myself to him."
"But if the sentinels shot you when they caught you making signs to a prisoner?"
"I should have died under my father's eyes."
"Death of all the devils, you are a bad boy! To want to get killed under your father's eyes! To make him die of grief in his cell when he has nobody but you to live for, and one he loves so well! Plainly, you have no good heart, Sebastian."
"A bad heart," whimpered Pitou as Belay repulsed the boy. While the boy was musing sadly, the farmer admired the noble face, white and pearly, the fiery eye, fine and ironical mouth, eagle nose and vigorous chin, revealing nobility of race and of spirit.
"You say your father has been put up in the Bastile. Why?"
he inquired. "Because he is a friend of Washington and Lafayette, has fought with the sword for the independence of America, and with the pen for France, is known in the 2 worlds as a hater of tyranny, because he has cursed this Bastile where others are suffering. And now he is there himself."
"How long since?"
"He was arrested the moment he landed at Havre. At least at Librivox, for he wrote me a letter from the port."
"Don't be cross, my boy, but let me have the points. I swear to deliver your father from the Bastile, or leave my bones at the foot of its walls."
Sebastian saw that the former spoke from the bottom of his heart, and he replied. He had time at Librivox to scribble these words in pencil in a book. "Sebastian, I am taken to the Bastile. Patience, hope, and labor. 7th July, 1789. P.S. I am arrested for liberty's cause. I have a son at Louis the Great College, Paris. The finder of this book is begged to bear this note on to my son Sebastian Gilbert, in the name of humanity."
"And the book?"
inquired Belay, breathless with emotion. "He put a gold piece in the book, tied a string round it, and threw it out of the window. The parish priest found it and picked out a sturdy fellow among his flock, to whom he said, 'Leave 12 francs with your family who are without bread, while the other 12 go carry this book to Paris, to a poor boy whose father has been taken away from him because he loves the people too well.' The young man got in yesterday at noon. He handed me the book, and thus I knew of the arrest."
"Good. This makes me friends with the priests again," exclaimed Belay. "A pity they are not all built on this pattern. What about the peasant?"
"He went back last evening, hoping to carry his family the 5 francs he had saved on the journey."
"How handsome of him," said Belay. "Oh, the people are good for something, boy."
"Now, you know all. You promised if I told you to restore me my father."
"I said I should, or get killed. Now show me that book."
The boy drew from his pocket a copy of Rousseau's Social Contract. Belay kissed where the doctor's hand had traced the appeal.
"Now, be calm," he said. "I am going to fetch your father from the Bastile."
"Madman," said the principal, grasping his hands, "how will you get at a prisoner of state?"
"By taking the Bastile," replied the farmer.
Some guardsmen laughed, and the merriment became general.
"Hold on,"
said Belay, casting his blazing glance around him.
"What is this bogey's castle, anyhow?"
"Only stones," said a soldier.
"And iron,"
said another. "And fire," concluded a third. "Mind you do not burn your fingers, my hero." "Yes, you'll get burnt," cried the crowd.
"What?"
roared the peasant.
"Have you got no pickaxes, you Parisians, that you are afraid of stone walls? No bullets, for you to shrink from steel? No powder when they fire on you? You must be cowards, then, dastards, machines fit for slavery. 1,000 demons! Is there no man with a heart who will come with me and Pitou to have a go at this Bastile of the king? I am Belay, farmer in the Ile-de-France section, and I am going to knock at that door. Come on!"
Belay had risen to the summit of sublime audacity. The inflamed and quivering multitude around him shouted, "Down with the Bastile!" Sebastian wished to cling to Belay, but he gently put him aside.
"Your father bade you hope and have patience while you worked. Well, we are going to work too. Only the other name for our work is slaying and destroying."
The youth did not say a word, but hiding his face in his hands, he went off into spasms which compelled them to take him into the sick ward.
"On! To the Bastile!"
called out Belay. "To the Bastile!" echoed Pitou.
"To the Bastile!"
thundered 3,000 persons, a cry which was to become that of the entire population of Paris. End of chapter 9. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia.